Madelein lost his IT over Luke's bachelor party in 90 Day Fiancé. Have you ever watched a moment on 90 Day Fiancé so explosive, so painfully awkward, that you just knew someone's relationship had officially crossed the point of no return? Yeah, this is that moment, because the second Luke said the words, stripper came over, it wasn't just Madelein who lost it. It was every single person watching who went, oh, he did now just say that on camera. I mean, come on, you're about to get married. You're supposed to be celebrating your future, not starring in your own personal scandal. But Luke managed to turn his bachelor party into a trust apocalypse. And honestly, I can't even blame Madeleine for the way she reacted, because there's a big difference between a small little bachelor party and professional dancer showing up in your living room. But here's what really gets me. It's not even the stripper part, it's the casual way he said it. Like, yeah, she came over, did the stripper stuff, whatever. Excuse me, whatever? The stripper stuff. Luke, that's not a verb, that's a confession, and in that one tiny exchange, that one slurred, nervous, fumbled moment, we see exactly why this couple might be on the road to emotional self-destruction. Because if you listen closely, it's not about what happened, it's about what didn't happen, the honesty, the trust, the accountability. But wait, what if that's not the full story? Because after watching that scene again, and again, don't judge me, you rewatched it too, something about Luke's tone feels off. Almost like he's trying to control the damage, not tell the truth. And that, my friends, is where things get complicated. Let's break this down. When Madeleine asked, what do you do with a stripper? That wasn't a simple question. It was a test, the kind of test couples secretly throw when they already suspect something's off. She wasn't looking for facts. She was looking for the micro-expression, the hesitation, the pause. And oh boy, Luke gave her one. He stumbles, he stalls, he repeats. He even laughs nervously. That's not just a man trying to explain himself. That's a man who's realizing, in real time, that his bachelor party story might destroy his relationship on international television. And the internet. Oh, they caught everything. The Reddit threads are already calling him the most suspicious fiancé of the season. Some fans say he looked guilty. Others think Madeleine overreacted. But the truth, the forbidden knowledge, might lie somewhere in between. Because here's what the show didn't emphasize enough. Luke didn't tell Madeleine about the stripper beforehand. She found out later. That's the real betrayal. Not the event itself, but the secret. See, honesty isn't about what you admit when you're cornered. It's about what you share before you get caught. And Luke, he failed that test. But let's pause for a second, because I have to ask, what would you do if your fiancé came home and casually said, yeah, the guys surprised me with a stripper, but I didn't do anything? Would you believe them, or would your guts start screaming? Drop your answer in the comments, because I'm genuinely curious how many of you would let that slide. Now, before we dive deeper into the real reason Madeleine lost it, and the behind-the-scenes hints that producers might have left out, let me just say this, if you live for dissecting these messy, chaotic, emotionally nuclear moments like I do, hit that subscribe button. Seriously, this is Breakdown Epic, and we don't just watch 90 Day Fiancé, we decode it. Alright, now let's talk about the psychology of what just happened. When people get defensive, their language changes. They minimize, they distort, they create distance with words like, was small, nothing big, or Luke's now infamous, stripper stuff. That's not random. That's a subconscious way to shrink the damage. And if that's the case, what else is Luke shrinking? Here's the secret, this isn't just a fight about one night. It's about pattern recognition. Throughout their storyline, Luke has this habit of underplaying serious issues, brushing off conflicts with humor or vague answers. It's his emotional defense mechanism. But Madeleine, she's the opposite, direct, passionate, emotional. And when you mix repression with confrontation, you get fire. This moment didn't come out of nowhere. It's been building. Every ignored message, every missed call, every time he said, it's not a big deal. And now that emotional debt has come due. The real twist, Madeleine doesn't even seem mad about the stripper itself. What she's really angry about is being made to feel crazy for reacting. That's the part that cuts deep. When someone crosses a line, then makes you feel like you're overreacting for noticing. And that's why she snapped. When she says, tell me the truth, Luke, because you know I'm gonna find out. It's not a question, it's a warning. That's the sound of someone who's already halfway out the door emotionally. Because once you start verifying your partner's honesty, instead of trusting it, it's over. But here's the forbidden knowledge no one's talking about. And it's something the editors sneakily left unaddressed. Why did Luke mention the stripper at all? If his goal was to downplay it, why not just say, was a small party with friends? Why confess, unless someone else was about to bring it up first? Think about it. These reality casts have friends, crew, cameras, and leaks. Maybe Luke wasn't confessing because of guilt, but because of damage control. Because if the truth was going to come out on its own, he wanted to be the one to control the narrative. And in that light, his nervous tone suddenly makes perfect sense. Not guilt, fear. Fear of exposure, fear of humiliation. Fear that his relationship, and maybe his image, were about to implode on TV. And if that's true, then the fight we just watched isn't spontaneous drama, it's strategic timing. Someone in production knew this was going to blow up, and they saved it for the perfect emotional cliffhanger. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, nothing on 90 Day Fiancé is ever accidental. Every camera angle, every pause, every "I didn't touch her" moment is part of a bigger chessboard, where feelings are real, but exposure is the price. And you know what's wild? The body language in that scene tells a whole different story. Luke keeps his arms folded, his eyes dart to the side. Classic signs of discomfort. But when Madelein pushes for answers, his micro-expressions shift from defensive to panicked. That's not the face of a man lying. That's the face of a man realizing he's already been caught. And this is where the episode quietly flips the script. Because in trying to defend himself, Luke accidentally exposes the one thing he's been trying to hide all along. That deep down, he knows Madelein doesn't trust him. And if we're being honest, maybe she has every reason not to. Because when someone repeatedly gives you half-truths, it's not about the stripper, or the party, or the friends. It's about the pattern of omission. And that's the slowest kind of betrayal there is. Let's be honest. This moment between Madelein and Luke isn't just another petty 90 Day Fiancé argument. It's a full-blown emotional autopsy playing out in real time. And the deeper you look, the more it feels like this bachelor party confession was never about the stripper at all. It was about control, because every time Madelein asks a straight question, Luke answers with a fog machine. He turns clear facts into clouds of, was small, nothing happened, and the stripper did the stripper stuff. It's the classic tactic of someone trying to minimize impact, not resolve conflict. And here's the forbidden knowledge: when someone avoids giving specifics, it's not because the truth is complicated, it's because it's inconvenient. But here's what the cameras didn't show you. And I know this because production insiders have hinted at it for years. Before the scene was filmed, Luke had already been warned that the bachelor party story might surface. Producers had been chatting with his friends, the same ones who threw the small party. And apparently, someone spilled, which means by the time Luke sat down with Madelein, this wasn't a confession. It was a damage control interview in disguise. He wasn't telling her because he wanted to come clean. He was telling her because he knew she'd find out anyway. And that's why her reaction was so raw. She wasn't just angry that a stripper showed up, she was angry that she'd been managed. You can almost see it on her face. That mix of fury and heartbreak when someone you love finally confirms your worst suspicion: they weren't honest. They were just late. Now, here's the part the fandom is divided on, and I want you to weigh in. Was Madelein justified in losing it? Or was this an overreaction born from insecurity and editing tricks? Think about it. If cameras had caught your fiancé admitting that a stranger danced on him while he called it no big deal, would you keep your cool? Comment below. I'm genuinely curious. Because personally, I think her meltdown wasn't about jealousy. It was about pattern recognition. We've all been there, right? That moment when the tiny inconsistencies suddenly start forming a pattern. The late replies, the vague stories, the laughter that feels a little too rehearsed. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that's why this scene exploded online. It's not just reality TV, it's a mirror. Every viewer who's ever been gaslit, dismissed, or told you're overreacting saw themselves in Madelein's face. And Luke, he became a case study in quiet guilt. The way he blinked, the nervous smile, the pacing speech, it all screamed, I know I messed up, but maybe if I act calm, this will blow over. Spoiler alert, it didn't. Now, let's rewind to something subtle that you probably missed, because this is where the real twist hides. When Luke says, I didn't touch her, notice what happens right after. He looks away, then adds, I didn't, and trails off. That stutter isn't just nerves, it's the language of self-correction. The human brain trying to edit a memory in real time. And if you study enough of these interactions, trust me, I don't, that's usually where the truth leaks out. But here's where it gets wild. After the episode aired, a friend of Luke's went live on Instagram, claiming the stripper wasn't even a hired dancer, but a friend of a friend who just showed up. Okay, but then why did Luke describe it as a stripper performing stripper stuff? Something doesn't add up. Either the story changed, or it was never consistent to begin with. And that's the secret heartbeat of 90 Day Fiancé contradiction. Producers don't need to invent lies. They just need to let the couples expose their own inconsistencies. Every pause, every stumble, every defensive laugh becomes part of the edit, and once the footage is spliced together, the audience becomes the jury. But what makes this fight unforgettable is what happens after the credits roll. Because if you look at the leaked next episode teaser, you'll catch a blink, and you miss it moment. Madelein packing a suitcase. She's crying, saying, I can't marry someone I don't trust. And Luke, silent. That's the real cliffhanger. Not whether he cheated, but whether this relationship can even function without transparency. Now imagine this: you're days away from your wedding, the cameras are rolling, your fiancé is accusing you of hiding things. Do you double down and defend yourself, or do you finally tell the whole story? Even if it destroys everything? That's the question I keep asking myself, and I want you to ask it too, because 90 Day Fiancé doesn't just show love, it shows exposure. And sometimes exposure burns. Let's do a quick hypothetical. If the roles were reversed, if Madelein had a wild bachelorette night and said, yeah, a guy came over and did dancer stuff, would Luke laugh it off? You and I both know the answer. He'd probably start an FBI-level investigation before the commercial break. And that's why this moment hits harder than it should. It's not just gender double standards, it's emotional hypocrisy caught on HD cameras. Luke wanted the freedom to have a normal bachelor night, but not the accountability that comes with it. Madelein wanted honesty, but got half-truths dressed up as reassurance. You can't build a marriage on that. You can't even build a believable apology on that. But here's the irony. The moment that might destroy them is also the one that made them famous. Because drama is the currency of 90 Day Fiancé, and whether they break up or reconcile, this fight just cemented them as one of the most talked about couples of the season. Now, if you've been with me since the start of this video, you already know we go deeper than surface level gossip. We don't just ask what happened, we ask why. Why do some people confess too late? Why do others explode when they feel unheard? And why do couples keep repeating the same emotional script, season after season? It's because unresolved insecurity is contagious. Once trust breaks, it infects every future moment. You start questioning texts, jokes, even eye contact. And that's exactly what's happening here. But let me drop one last secret, the kind that the show will never tell you. The entire bachelor party reveal. It wasn't filmed in real time. It was reconstructed days later, after producers learned what had happened from a mutual friend. Meaning, that conversation between Luke and Madelein might not even have been their first argument about it. That's right. What we saw might be a reenactment of a fight that already happened off camera. Now tell me that doesn't change everything. It explains why Luke looked prepared, why Madelein looked exhausted, and why the tension felt rehearsed but real. Because they'd already lived it once. This was the encore for the audience. And if that's true, then who's the real manipulator here? Luke, for hiding it. Madelein, for performing it. Or production for turning pain into primetime. That's the mystery that keeps Breakdown Epic alive. So, before we wrap, let's end on a lighter note. Because my brain's been spinning like a 90 Day Fiancé reunion special. Raise your hand if you've ever said, I didn't touch her, and immediately regretted your life choices. No, just Luke. Cool. Honestly, if Luke wanted to avoid drama, maybe he should have had a Monopoly-themed bachelor party instead of one featuring stripper stuff. At least then the only thing getting stripped would have been his properties. But jokes aside, this whole debacle reminds us why we watch. Because behind every I didn't do anything is a story begging to be exposed. And every season gives us a new lesson in how honesty, when delayed, always detonates bigger. So what do you think? Was Madelein's meltdown justified, or was it over the top? Did Luke actually cross a line? Or did the cameras do what cameras do best? Magnify every insecurity until it becomes chaos. Drop your take below. I read every comment, and your theories are honestly more entertaining than half the confessionals. And if you haven't yet, you already know the deal. Hit subscribe, because next time, we're peeling back another 90 Day Fiancé moment that looked innocent, but hides a secret so messy it'll make this bachelor party look like kindergarten recess. Until then, I'm Sophia. This is Breakdown Epic, and remember, in love and reality TV, the truth always shows up, even when you pretend it didn't touch you.